so I'm down at the boat here, and we're not going out this weekend. You know, the weather is kind of looking a little nicer than it originally was forecast, but it is a little breezy, and you know, we got some things to do. And mainly today what I want to look at is the heater, because when we were out last weekend, the heater, it would come up and run up for about, I don't know, about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so, and then it would just abruptly shut off, and it would start up again, but it would just shut off about the same amount of time later if I turned it back on. So, and you know, you might remember when it shut down, there'd be sort of a puff of smoke out of the intake, and so I'm kind of wanting to get to the bottom of that, because it still is a bit chilly. So if we were out, we'd probably want to be running the heater, and that might not be so comfortable if we weren't able to. So anyway, I'm going to look at the heater, see if I can resolve that. This is the fuel filter that goes from the fuel tank to the Espar furnace, and I did pull it out. I turned it on for a little bit. It stalled out actually after about 10 minutes, so seems to be getting worse, because before it was running for about an hour. But I took this off and I emptied it out here. There's some really fine particulate, but not much, and definitely not enough to clog it up. It did appear to be feeding fuel past it. So considering that fuel filter doesn't appear to be clogged up, and just some very minor particulate, and you know, no real restriction issue there, and it did appear to be pumping just fine. I could see the pulsation from the pump, from the Espar. So I don't think it's necessarily a fuel pump problem, but perhaps it's getting a little bit gummed up, maybe around the fuel nozzle or something. I haven't really been inside those Espars before, so I'm not too sure. But I was recommended to, you know, get some sort of a fuel cleaner additive and just run it off that for an hour or so. So I think I'm going to give that a try. And you know, it does seem to be starting up every time. And I have no idea if there's any codes in the system. Don't have a reader, but you know, we'll go to that extent if we have to. But for now, I think I'm going to grab a fuel additive and see if I can clean it out. Okay, so I've been running the furnace now for probably about an hour, and I'm just running it off a additive here that seems to be working good. It was really quitting pretty quick, so I don't know if it was just getting a little bit carboned up or what the issue was, but I'll show you what I got going on here. All right, so I have the here's the tank where the fuel connects, just right down in here. And but what I've taken the fuel line out of there that goes to the Espar, and I just got it running into this can right here. So you might have seen this stuff before, but it's referred to as seafoam, and it's yeah, it's just sort of a cleaner that you can run through a lot of engines and that sort of thing. Somebody gave me the idea of you know, just putting the line right in there and just running it for a while. Yeah, it was running pretty poorly. Like last weekend, it was running for maybe about an hour, and then it would shut down. But when I started up today, it would maybe run for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I ran it up about 2 or 3 times, it would just barely start up. So I went ahead and you know, got this this stuff in the fuel line, and the fuel looked like it was good going to it. But I have heard that diesel, just regular diesel fuel, can kind of gum up these Espar furnaces and that sort of thing. So maybe there's something to that. I have heard people say you should just run kerosene and not regular diesel, but of course buying 2 fuels and all that, that's kind of a little bit of a nuisance. So, you know, generally one wants to just stay with diesel if they can. It might be necessary to run a can of this stuff every once in a while, or maybe once a year, just pull the fuel line, plug it in a can, and just run it up for 2 or 3 hours and just give it a good clean out. But anyway, we'll see. I gotta get it plugged back into diesel once this can is finished, and we'll see if that fixes the problem. All right, well, the heater's been running for, I don't know, a good couple hours on the diesel after removing it from the cleaning liquid that run through it. I'm pretty sure I've heard of it before, but definitely the first time I've ever used it. And we'll only know for sure after we actually go out for the weekend and you know, do a regular run up on the heater overnight, that sort of thing. But I think we're going to be heading out next weekend. Probably still won't be all that warm out, so we'll find out for sure then. All right, so we've come out on the Easter long weekend, so it's Friday today. We came out last night and made our way over to Tod Inlet here at Brentwood Bay. And, it's a little bit overcast now. It was a bit sunny this morning. Still cold last night, but should be a pretty good weekend. We're going to be meeting up with MVC Star with Lisa and Greg. We might have another couple coming to meet up here a little later as well. So right now we're just stern tied to shore here. It looks pretty good. We'll see if we get any winds coming up, but so far so good. I think it should be it should be a pretty good anchorage, and got lots of scope out on the anchor and the chain there. So hopefully it should be a nice weekend.
No, I can't even spell it.
You can't even say that now. She knows that means what. Yeah, I'll do after that.
Like, geez, I'm gonna have to pick up better.
Okay, so we're out here for the weekend, and last weekend, 2 weeks ago, we had some trouble with the heater. The heater was kicking off after, I don't know, sometimes half an hour, it could be an hour and a half, but it would just turn off for no apparent reason. It was a fairly abrupt shutdown. My suspicion was that we were dealing with possibly some blockage in the fuel line, or possibly the pickup, or maybe the nozzle or something internally is gummed up, but I don't know. I'm kind of thinking maybe that's not it. So last weekend I had a recommendation to put some seafoam through the system and just run it off that for a while. It didn't stall at all with running that, but it's a fairly intermittent failure, but it generally doesn't run for that long before it does fail. But what I've done for coming out this weekend, just in case it was blocking at the standpipe, because I haven't actually pulled that out of the tank yet, is I removed the fuel line from the standpipe and just popped it into a 20-liter fuel container of diesel. So I know that's clean, and I know that's, just perfect diesel. And it was still failing last night. So we did manage to get through the night okay, and it was down pretty close to almost freezing last night, I think. We managed to make it through okay. So I'm kind of thinking now we could be dealing with an electrical fault. The one thing that is a bit of a clue to that is when it does turn off, it powers off immediately. Normally when the system powers down, the flame goes out and you can sort of hear the fan sort of running for a little while still, and probably takes a good minute or so to shut down. Now when it shuts down under this failure, and you might remember the video I took when I opened the engine compartment, there's sort of a puff of smoke that comes out the intake. That tells me that there's still fuel in the chamber and still burning, and it just goes out abruptly. And and all that sort of smoke is from probably partially burned diesel. At least that's what I would think it is. So with that said, I'm kind of thinking it is either a fault in the furnace itself, which if it is, well, we got to pull it and deal with it. But if it isn't, if it has a bad connection or the relay loses power for just a moment, maybe the contacts just open and close real quick. Anyway, that's what we'll look at, and we'll see if that's what the problem is, and we'll go from there. Okay, so everything looks pretty good, but then we look up on the sort of dashboard and you can see we have a whole pile of stuff displaced here. So we'll go around here and show you what's going on. There's the girls playing a game there. And So we're just going into the galley here, into the where we normally have all that stuff, and we have a fuel pipe. We have a fuel line just going into this gasoline container, which is actually filled with diesel. So not really my intention to have a galley with a barrel of diesel underneath the sink, but you know, I figured it was a pretty valuable way to help diagnose if there's a feed problem from the tank or the stand tube or the fuel pickup or any of that business, and just running it straight off that fuel container. And it seems like the problem's there. So although it'd be nice to pin it down, you know, if it was that, I'm in no hurry to have a problem with the fuel in the diesel tank and possibly a bunch of biological stuff in there blocking that up. So if we don't have that, that's still actually kind of a win, but hopefully we can just pin down where this heater problem is. A good thing is, at least it's spring, and you know, we're not going to be in that, it's not going to be that big a deal, at least, you know, in another month or so, we won't be needing the heater anyway. So, but anyway, the saga continues. It's spring, not that big a deal. Yeah, right. It was a really cold, clear night, and it definitely dropped below zero. Certainly one of the coldest nights we've ever spent on the boat. Join us next time when the Easter Bunny visits MV Makena Kai, and find out just how cold the overnight temperature dropped inside the boat. We also get out for a hike along Tod Creek Trail. Thanks for watching.